Hello there, Broadman Baptist Church, and anybody watching. This is Pastor Rick, and today is the 12th of January, and this is the Broadman Word. I'm going to talk to you today about Matthew 5:9. It's a pretty simple set of scriptures, but it's about peace, and it's about more than that. It's about being a peacemaker. So let's go ahead and just read the scripture from the Gospel of Matthew. It says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they would be called the children of God." And today we have anything but peace. It seems like everybody's angry, divided. You've heard me talk about these things before, so I'm not going to waste your time with all that. I just want you to, from the various scriptures I've been sharing with you lately, we had gentle and meek a few days ago. I did that Broadman word. And then earlier this week, I did all called, and that sort of set the stage for, our generalized purpose here on earth. And today we're talking about being peacemakers. So if you think about it, with all of the upset, turmoil, and violence, murderous thoughts, violent thoughts that followed the people around that were not excited about Jesus Christ. He was a consistent force of peace. Only was angry once. It was righteous anger. He turned over the tables of the money changers in the temple. Excuse me, it is Northeast Ohio in the winter, so those things are going to happen. So he was only angry once. It was a righteous anger. Turned over the money tables of the money changers in the temple and chased them away. Even then, he was a source of peace because he took the egregious sin out of the Father's house. So, once again, we find Jesus acting and teaching us to act opposite of the culture of the day. It was no problem of the culture of the day for people to be conducting all manner of business everywhere, including the temple. And if you didn't toe the line, so to speak, if you didn't adopt the modern cultural ethos, particularly in the Roman areas, if you didn't adopt Caesar as your god, and you didn't pay homage to the Roman authorities, and there were huge cities around in the day, just like there are today. If you didn't follow the cultural landscape, so to speak, of those, then you were ostracized, oftentimes violently, maybe even physically violently, including up to death. So there was this general persecution of those who believed differently, particularly those who believed in Jesus Christ. They were, in fact, persecuted, as you've heard me and I'm sure others talk about many times. So, using Jesus as our example then, what are we to do? If you take a look at the crucifixion, even under the trial, the mockery, the beating, the general hatred and violence stirred up by the Pharisees and the Sanhedrin and folks in general who were mad that Jesus wasn't going to be the military conquering leader that they wanted him to be, that he came, in fact, in peace, and as an example of the love of God. They were mad, violently mad, and they were going to convict him of something, and they were going to see him killed. Well, hopefully none of us face a crucifixion in this day and time, but persecution, absolutely. So what is it then are we to do with this scripture, blessed are the peacemakers? It's not necessarily to camp out there because that's easy enough. It is to understand the second part of the scripture in connection to the first, and they are called the children of God. So if you're to be a child of God, if you're going to be a member of his kingdom, you're going to be a disciple of Jesus Christ, an adopted heir to the kingdom, an ambassador to the gospel, all these things that we've talked about so many different times. If this is you, if this is really you, then you have to be a peacemaker, which is not as easy as it probably once was. We have the ability to spread information like no other people in the history of the world. And we have the ability to take in amounts of information from various sources at enormous volumes and rates. And it doesn't necessarily have to be true, and it certainly doesn't necessarily have to be good for you. But we are consumers of information these days. Well, all of that does not lead to a peaceful existence. All of that leads to upset, probably sadness, worry, anxiety, fear, maybe wanting to lash out at the groups, wanting to demonize people groups for their clearly anti-God rhetoric and their rejection of all we know to be good and true. So what's our job then? Well, like I said, with All Called a couple of episodes ago, we are to reconcile as many of folks as we can to the cross of Christ. And that means we have to be peaceful. Very few people will follow a message of love, a message of reconciliation, if it requires upset, upheaval, hatred, violence, ostracization, all these kinds of things. So we need to keep at our core the same thing that Jesus had at his core, the love of the Father, the desire to honor and serve the Father, and to move the good purposes of the kingdom forward. The reason we want to do these things is that is our ultimate job. The ministry of reconciliation requires us to be able to draw people in. It requires us to be able to bring people to the cross and have them experience the love of Christ through us, and then to hopefully have the Father place his call upon their heart and make them an adopted heir of the kingdom, one of his children like you are. That requires peace. It requires peace of spirit, requires peace of self, and it requires peace of action, meaning that no matter what we do, we are always representing the love of Christ. We're the earthly example, the visible example of the love of Christ. We are the ambassadors of the gospel. We're being used by God to make his plea to the darkness. We're on this 24/7 mission for God. And in all of it, we must be his representative, because the world will look for any little thing possible. Will look for any action, word, or deed that they can decipher or pull apart or pick at to show that what you say to be true is in fact not true. What you say to be love is in fact not love. To disprove what you say and what you do, to add authenticity or to add validity to what they say the world is like and how they want to act and how they want to tell you to act. So, brothers and sisters, we are not only on a mission of love and reconciliation, we are on a mission of peace, and they are not separate. They must be done together. So blessed are the peacemakers, because they will be called the children of God. If you want to be called a child of God, if you want to carry that label, then you're going to have to be a peacemaker, no matter how difficult it is. Your fingers perched over that keyboard, ready to let loose the fingers of fury on that, anti-God or anti-whatever post you just read. Take a step back and ask yourself, is this going to serve the purposes of the kingdom? Is this going to represent Jesus Christ? Is this going to be the love of Christ brought in peace? If you can't answer affirmatively to those questions, then you shouldn't be doing whatever it is you're doing, whether it be social media, in person, printed media, you name it, whatever it is, you should not be doing it if you can't answer those questions in the affirmative. So listen, I love you. I hope you're having a marvelous day in the Lord. Be a peacemaker because you are a child of God, a precious living example of the love of Jesus Christ, which is in its core peace, no matter what the world might have to say about it. You take care. I'll talk to you next time.